Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, a Star Trek podcast. My name is Caitlin, and with me this week are...
Jake!
Chris.
And Ames.
Thank you for joining us this evening for episode 79.
Woo! Unless it's not evening while you're listening, in which case, top of the morning to you.
Really?
You can sub it in. Here, give us a second. Morning! Afternoon! Dawn!
The gloaming.
Early evening.
Apocalypse! Sub in as necessary. So yes, we're here today for episode 79.
Woo!
And we're talking about episodes 21 and 22 of season 2, the last 2 episodes? Dare I use scare quotes? 1.5 episodes, 2.5 men.
1 1/3.
One Riker, one episode!
Wonderful. Wonderful. Just wonderful. So we're talking about peak performance. Boing. Wherein the crew of the Enterprise are going to visit some weird-looking egg monster person to do some war game training stuff. And Riker is going to be acting as the captain of a beaten-up, broken-down, piece of shit, old Federation vessel that has no chance of surviving against the Enterprise, but the whole point of the exercise is to... Did I say exercise twice?
Enterprise
and exercise, yes. The whole point of the exercise is that, you will not necessarily always be evenly matched when you are in Space Wars, when you're having a Star Wars in the Star Trek. So... it's sort of like an improvising, how well can you do kind of situation. Good old Riker is not too good to use some dirty tricks and actually winds up influencing the boy to commit some baddie stuff as well. They find out that what the fuck is the ship? Wait a minute, I bet it's on my card. The USS Hathaway.
Named after Anne Hathaway.
Mm.
I'm sure it was.
What type of ship was it? Was it Oberth?
Constellation.
Okay.
Like the Stargazer.
Yeah.
Thank you. I knew you boys would know. Fucking nerds.
I knew it as well.
Oh, well, lucky guess. No, just kidding. Yeah, so the Hathaway is absolutely a shit pile, doesn't even have warp capability, but Wesley, having heard about their plight, decides to sneak back on board the Enterprise to steal a little antimatter to level the playing field and give them warp. Meanwhile... Sirna Kolrami, the egg monster, kind of look like Humpty Dumpty.
The Eggman. I am the walrus.
This guy is both the Eggman and the walrus, I think. And he thinks Riker sucks because he read his personnel file. He's right, but...
He also played him in a game of Stratagema.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. Kolrami is like the king of Stratagema. And that actually leads to our B-plot, which is Data gets ennui because Kolrami and he play Stratagema, and Kolrami beats his ass, and he's like, but I'm a computer, I'm infallible.
His pink eye was back, too.
Oh, gross. I missed that, thank God.
Yeah, you're lucky.
Ugh, that fucking
pink eye. They probably got like the
Yeah,
makeup.
got the makeup.
No, but it looks awful. It's distressing.
It wasn't as bad as the last
distracting.
time, but it was definitely a problem.
See, that's why I just stare at his dick.
It's
Then I
not
don't
always
have
on
that problem.
camera.
Well,
You just draw one under your television. There it is.
There's Data's dick. However, their little war game is interrupted when the Ferengis show up, being a bunch of bitches, talking about, if you're trying to save the Hathaway, there must be something valuable on it. Bah. And the Enterprise crew and the folks on the Hathaway, who, by the way, are still Enterprise crew, just on a different ship, they kind of come up with a plan where, they can use their warp for, 2 seconds, and the Enterprise crew is going to shoot a bunch of photon torpedoes at them, and they're gonna use the warp at just the right second so that it looks like they got blown to smithereens, and the Ferengi are dumb, so they'll fall for it. But at the same time, Worf uses some foreshadowed magic to also make the Ferengi think that another Starfleet ship is coming, and so they run away like a couple of little pussies, and that's the end of the episode. It's great, and Kohlrami is forced.
At the very end,
Kohlrami. What?
Data wins.
Well, no, he doesn't.
Well,
exactly.
He gets a stalemate.
Well, so what I was gonna say was Kohlrami
winning move is not.
Kohlrami is forced to admit that Riker isn't so bad, and then he and Data play again, and Kohlrami also is a little bitch and is like, "I quit, you dick!" Throws his controller against the wall. It smashes into little pieces.
I quit the finger milking game.
And Data's like, I wasn't even trying to win, brah. I was just trying to keep him from winning. And everyone's like, oh, Data, so you did win. And Data's like, I'm loving it. And in Shades of Grey, it's a clip show. It sucks, kind of. It's kind of a shitty clip show. It basically... We open on Riker, who has sustained a puncture wound in his, left thigh, right thigh, one of his fucking legs.
It was the left.
I think it was left, yeah. And he's all like, oh no, I got stabbed by this thing. And Pulaski's like, oh no, it has a microbe and it's fucking up your shit. And he's like, oh no, my leg is asleep. And Pulaski's like, oh no, the microbe might get to your brain and you'll die. Ah! And so... With the help of Troy, sensing Riker's feelings, they put a bunch of pins in Riker's brain to stimulate his thoughts and shit because they think that by doing that they can stop the spread of this, microbe infection, whatever. And they find out that, negative emotions affect the microbe negatively and they can stop its growth, so they make him, relive a bunch of shitty memories, like that time Troy got knocked up by a space dust and he wasn't the dad, and I don't know. I actually have a question. Did any of the episode where his dad was on the ship and he was pissy about it actually happen?
No.
I don't think that was...
That was a fucking waste because he hated that shit. I mean, I know that they ended it nicely, but I really expected some, American Gladiator shit with Daddy to show up, and it didn't. So, well done, assholes.
Anything else on Shades of Grey for the synopsis?
Oh, yeah. Riker doesn't die, surprisingly enough.
More like Shades of Lame.
Yeah, no, it was pretty shit. And then, the worst part of all is that this is the last time we see Pulaski. All we got to see Pulaski do was go, I'm gonna have to try something else, and then putting her
I'm gonna narrow the beam more!
Putting her eyes over and over again onto a microscope. That's more all like Pulaski got to do.
Shades of shit.
More like...
Shit.
50 Shades of meh. No, that's not good.
Alright, well, let's start with the better of the two.
Peak performance.
I thought it was quite good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
I liked
it.
I liked Kohlrabi, Broccoli Rob. Wasn't I calling him Broccoli Rob last night? I was calling him Broccoli Rob. Isn't Kohlrabi something? Isn't there a thing called
it's
kohlrabi?
a vegetable or some shit.
Yeah, kohlrabi. So
I see it on Chopped a lot.
So yes, that's probably where I got it from. I've been watching a lot of Chopped.
It's named after the Star Trek character.
Obviously, yeah. So Kohlrabi, I liked his makeup. He was a pretty good-looking alien. I mean, not a good-looking alien.
What they did with the Pack-Leds was what they were called, but they didn't make him look quite so Pack-led.
Yeah, not so off-putting.
I don't remember what a Pack-Led was.
Yeah,
they had those drooly mouths.
The
Samaritan Snare, yeah.
I liked his appearance, but I also liked the characterization. I feel like this is a time where we got a guest star.
It was a little bit cartoonish.
It was, but it was consistent and
He's another in a long line of dickhead observers.
Yeah, but I feel like as opposed to Remick, for example, I think I liked him better than Remick.
I also feel like the actor really committed.
Yeah.
I know you were off-put by it, but when he was playing...
when he was licking Strategema when he was licking his lips.
Thing. Unless that's actually something the actor does, which God, I hope not. That was just a nice... It seemed appropriate to the character, that weird,
I am focusing so hard. I must beat Data.
Was his voice an effect, or what was the deal with that? Because at first I was like, holy shit, do we have another lady-voiced man alien? But then it became clear that wasn't the case, so...
No, I think that's just how that actor talks.
Or he could have been putting on an affect as well.
He might have been, but I don't think it was electronic or anything.
Huh. Interesting. Well, I liked that also.
Yeah, he also, not that you saw him walking around much, but when he did, he had a very strange sort of, very he kind of was always leaning forward when he walked.
He had a little hunch, I think.
Yeah, that's another thing, though. Do you think that's an affect, or do you think that the actor was just, actually 70 years old, and therefore maybe...
Well, because when he, sat down and was just standing around, he had sort of...
Normal posture.
Yeah, like regular posture. So I think it would...
Yeah, I think he was trying to portray, like...
a funny little...
sniveling...
Especially because
jackass.
part of the idea of his species is, like, they're
They're known strategists.
Yeah, super renowned
The
tacticians.
Zakdorn.
Yes.
I
And
had a
part of
thought on that. Well, sorry, finish your sentence.
And part of the thing is, like, you look at them and go, what? No. And that seems to work, be part of that, I would imagine.
Yeah, Worf mentions that, if their reputation is being such amazing strategists, but no one has gone up against them in anything because they're sure that they'll lose, and Worf makes the observation that their reputation therefore means nothing because you can't fucking prove it.
If no one ever tests them,
yeah.
what is their reputation?
Yeah, and which is interesting because we're in a war game because we're preparing ourselves for fighting the Borg because we want to make sure that if and when this happens, it'll probably happen. We need more strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just make the Zakdorns fight the I almost said the Gorn, the Borg,
And the Gorn.
and the Gorn together as one.
So,
This time we'll use 2 rocks.
that might not work if only because, not that we've seen a lot of it yet, but when the time does come, traditional strategy doesn't necessarily work well against the Borg. And I'm not sure how well the Zakdorn can think outside the box.
They have to think outside the box. They're amazing strategists.
I mean, he wasn't...
He applauded when Wesley thought outside the box and came and got his toy.
True.
He was like, clever boy.
Yeah.
Feed him to a raptor.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they don't have the military technology, It's like, it's the difference between... They're like the nerds, right? They're the guys that think up the strategies, but they might not be the best warriors. Maybe that's the deal, Like we're good at.
Do you need warriors to fight the Borg?
There's a difference between strategy and tactics, right?
Also, maybe...
wait, hang on.
Is there a difference?
What's the difference between strategy and tactics?
Well, strategy is a broader term for like, we're gonna like your campaign in a war. So our strategy involves, okay, we're gonna have these armies invading from this side, and then we're gonna have these armies here, and then we're gonna have paratroopers land here, and we're gonna do a bombing run of this or whatever. That's that's your strategy, and that's like what the nerds think of. That's people in offices and boardrooms think of. And then there's tactics, which is on the ground decisions, individual decisions. Like, okay, I'm the commander on the field. I'm gonna send this group of guys in, and they're gonna shoot those guys, and these guys are gonna go shoot those guys. So it's like it's micro and macro.
I don't know. I feel like the Zakdorn should be good at both.
We don't know that. I mean, have you seen how their posture is?
It's also possible that maybe they are excellent theoretical tacticians, but maybe they just don't do well under like live fire pressure. Certainly,
they're good at strategy. But that's a lot of live fire pressure.
well, I mean, look at how quickly friggin' Kohlrabi there was like, sacrifice your people, let's get out of here.
Yeah. That's probably why they never do a war, because they just retreat.
Well,
the
but being
first sign of
fair,
trouble.
he was correct. That would be the correct strategy. He was trying to get them to cut their losses.
Yeah, but
There's
never,
no heart. There's no heart in it.
Well,
But
exactly,
if it
and
was a
this
real war, you would probably be like, "Yeah, fuck those guys."
this is Star Trek, though, so we're supposed to...
Did he know at the time that the other ship had a 2-second warp burst?
I don't think so.
Then that he doesn't have all the information to work his strategy.
And the other thing, though, is what he doesn't know, and that we know, is that the enemy were the Ferengi. And what are they going to fucking do? Whip us? With their laser electric whips?
Riker did not like getting whipped.
Was that...
Which is surprising.
Was that Armin Shimmerman again, by
Yes,
the
it
way?
was.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's getting better.
This is probably the best appearance of the Ferengi yet.
I was going to say, you said Armin Shimmerman. I was going to say, you didn't like Quark in a Box?
Quark in a Box was great. No, I say just in terms of the Ferengi. Because every time the Ferengi have shown up so far, it's been fairly disappointing.
Pretty bad.
Yeah. But this time, I don't know. I feel like
they were in character,
they
too,
were in
which is
character, and they were trying to salvage stuff and do Ferengi shit. And I actually like the Ferengi in this one for once. Mostly, I like Armin Shimmerman. I think he's good at it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this episode actually, though, proved a theory of yours from ages ago, Jake.
What's that?
You had posited once that view screens are simulated images based on sensor data, as opposed to, like, cameras on the ship's surface.
Mm-hmm.
And this rather seems to have been proven by the Worf Gambit.
That's true. Yeah, his plan was to
create a sensor ghost.
Yeah.
but it also created a fake image of a warbird on the view screen.
But what is a camera other than a sensor?
How did he get the sensor ghost on the Ferengi ship? Because the only reason he got it on the Enterprise was because he knows the codes.
Their security is bad.
He must be a really great hacker.
Worf is really good.
He's secretly a Ferengi.
That's why Riker made him first officer instead of Geordi.
Wow.
Also,
Would Geordi make a good first officer?
He was a pretty good captain for like 5 minutes in that one episode.
That's true.
You mean when he went into the captain's lounge or whatever the fuck it was and like had a meltdown with Troy?
Yeah.
Okay.
That time. He was great. I sense you're a little stressed.
Yes.
Good call.
Like,
Thanks, you must be an empath.
There would not be any... Because Worf was very concerned when Riker gave him the first officer position. He was very concerned that Geordi was going to be offended. And I'm like, well, I feel like... rank...
Security comes before fucking...
Well, is it seniority or what?
Well, it was rank, right? Because I think Geordi is a lieutenant commander, I think, at this point. And Worf is a junior lieutenant, right?
Sounds reasonable.
I think. I don't know. Eventually, it gets all shaken up. But the point was that Geordi had rank over Worf, and therefore should have been given the position. But
well,
I don't think that's right.
He had way more to contend with making the ship go.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like
we look for things.
I'm pretty sure when she comes back, Dr. Crusher is a commander rank, but Data always is still second in command. So I feel like it's about what your job is.
Isn't Riker technically second in command?
Well, he's first in command, or second officer, not second in command. Second officer. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say he's number one.
He's the first officer. And Data's the second officer.
Well, but also like one, it wasn't as if it was like real life. It was a training exercise, and two, Picard was like on an away team.
Yeah.
And whoever's in charge makes all the choices.
Yeah,
so
Worf needs more of this experience picking strategy than Geordi does.
Well, also, he's your tactical officer on the Enterprise. What would you have him do on the Hathaway otherwise?
That's a good point.
Sweep the floor.
Who was the lady on the bridge?
I don't know, but she was terrible.
She had like several lines.
And she flubbed all of them.
Yeah.
They were all bad. I hated her. Because at first she was just in the background. It's like, oh, she is overacting. Stop it, extra. Oh, they're letting her talk.
She kind of had this weird way of like making a little smirk with her little face when she would make her lines. She'd be like, "Yes, Captain."
She was expressing way too much
with like a weird little cat that got the cream face. Like I don't know. I feel like she just made like a goofy little kitty face, like meow.
Yeah, no, it's like one, you're a bad actor, and two, I think you're thinking you're on stage where expressions have to be a bit exaggerated because the audience needs to see them. You know, when you're on the TV, they got the cameras, you can be more natural.
No, TVs were really small back then and grainy. To be fair.
I love how TVs in 1989 have been demoted to 1950s fucking things in our minds.
No, but I mean, we're living in the era of like fucking 60-inch televisions.
Yeah,
Comparatively, we probably
4D.
had a 20-inch. We probably had a 20-inch TV, and again, the quality wasn't as good.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone else, all the major actors on this show do normal things with their faces.
Well, that's because they're all actual actors.
That's what I mean.
This was an extra.
Yeah, well, she wasn't, I mean...
Principal extra. She got to talk.
Yeah, she had a line. But I think...
Probably gets residuals to this day.
You know, I have to feel like if you're a young actor looking for work, and you get a job on a hit show, and you get a speaking line... That's going to be pretty nerve-wracking. So I don't know. I can't...
Are you blaming the director for not putting her at ease?
No, I'm just saying that... I'm saying, I mean, she didn't do a good job. But I wouldn't devalue her talent based on a several-second performance.
I would.
Yeah, I would too. Because I feel like look at last week. We had Diedrich Bader, who did an excellent job, and that was probably one of his first roles.
It's true.
We've probably had other extras up until this point who've had one or two lines and done fine. We had Lieutenant Leslie
for years,
who talked once, and I was mostly surprised by how high pitched his voice was.
We also had, we may have had Ruth Bader, but we also had Sonia Sotomayor, and she was terrible.
Jesus fucking Christ!
What was that, Leslie? Sonia
Gomez?
Oh,
Gomez.
okay. I was not sure what you
You
were
said
going
something about
for.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
No,
I don't know what was going
Diedrich
on.
Bader is an actor's name.
Okay. Well,
Diedrich Bader Ginsburg.
Diedrich Bader.
Justice
Oh my
Diedrich
God, if he
Bader
married
Ginsburg.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that would be his name.
If he took her name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, I mean, are you going to make her take... It's fucking Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Is she
You
married?
take her
She's probably
name.
married.
I think
Probably,
she is.
but-
I suspect she
Look,
is.
She's a Supreme Court justice. She can have as many husbands as she wants. It's an
She's exempt, yeah.
obscure loophole in the Constitution.
There's so many of those.
Yeah.
So anyway, Sonia Gomez was terrible.
Yes,
and she had lots
agreed.
of lines.
She had a number of lines for 2 episodes. I wouldn't say
they
that's
wanted,
lots.
but they wanted to make her a
See,
recurring guest.
I found her less offensive than Blondie here, though, because she was
No.
written
Let's
that
call
way.
her Elena Kagan, since we don't know the character's name.
I don't know who that is.
She's another Supreme Court Justice.
Oh.
She was also the Dean of Students at Harvard Law School for quite some time, and people like to make fun of her because there was a picture of her playing softball.
How
Softball's
dare
for
she?
girls.
Well, I think it's more like softball is for lesbians, I think was sort of
really?
what
I
they
didn't know
were
that.
suggesting.
I
Yeah.
must know a lot of lesbians. Anyway, back on
No, wait, I never made my point about Blondie. So, the thing is, Sonia Gomez was annoying, but she was written that way. Like, she was supposed to be what she was. This woman was doing, she was doing what she was supposed to.
Okay, so the actor was worse, but the actor was worse and that made the character bad, versus the character just being bad.
Right, and in reality, Sonia Gomez was partly so annoying because the actress was doing what the script told her to. This one was supposed to just be delivering normal lines, but she was like, I'm gonna over-enunciate and nod really big.
She literally said, "Yes, Captain. Aye, sir." That's all she said.
No, she had other lines. Where am I supposed to get this kind of wire? And Worf is like, you dumb bitch, it is everywhere.
Oh,
Anyway.
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
He ripped it out of the ceiling.
he did.
Anyway, I contend Sonia Gomez is worse because the character is worse.
Yeah, the character
And because
was
they
worse.
intended her to stay around, and if they intended her to stay around and then they wrote her to be
I
the
would've
most
left.
annoying piece of shit in the
I would
fucking
not have
world.
watched. I'd have left this podcast.
Yeah, I mean that's why Argyle quit the show was because of Sonia Gomez.
Damn it. Poor Chief Engineer Argyle, we hardly knew thee.
One of their 17 chief engineers in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other one's name? McDougal?
I think so.
Yeah, that sounds right, actually.
The Hathaway, I was fascinated by it. It's fairly unique bridge setup.
Yeah, there was like a captain's chair and
I really
first officer's chair.
wanted the chair to fall apart when Worf sat in it.
That would have been kind of funny. But it's not just the first officer's chair, because it was the first officer's chair, but also some sort of... I'm not sure if it was just the tactical station. It may have been some sort of bizarre blended tactical nav station, because he seemed to be doing both.
Well, the whole thing with the LCAR's interface is that you can reconfigure
True.
the interfaces. So if Worf wanted, he could have
Yeah.
tactical and whatever.
And solitaire right in the middle.
Yeah, and Stratagema playing it with his dicks.
Galaga.
But, oh god, with those little nubbins on the end. But yeah, no, it's a...
Of his dick?
Yeah.
Plural.
What? What nubbins on the ends of his
The
dick?
one you put on your fingertips.
Stratagema.
Oh, I thought you were
controllers.
saying that his dick had nubbins.
No. He
You're
would
talking about the Stratagema nubbins.
Yeah.
That's a whole
put
different
those,
Nubbin. Yeah.
kettle
put
of
those
fish.
on the dicks.
Kettle of
And-
nubbins.
But yeah, and we know this bridge configuration isn't necessarily just a feature of the Constellation class, because when we saw the Stargazer bridge, it was a more traditional, captain's chair in the middle, helm and nav up front, everything else in a ring. This was, I liked it. It was different, but kind of cool.
Yeah, and bridges, bridges come in all shapes and sizes.
Just like dicks.
Yeah,
Jeff.
I could care less.
Bo.
Every time. One Wiker, one bridge.
I also liked, a little touch was both on the bridge and in engineering, the only sections we really saw, very TOS reminiscent red bridge rails and other railings, which I feel like was supposed to be sort of a visual indicator of just how old the ship was.
And we
even
got
though
the
they told
boatswain's
us.
whistle. We
Yeah,
got
that's
the-
right. I forgot
we got
about that.
Well, we get that every time.
Well, yeah, but it sounded
Oh, you
more.
alerted the
Yeah.
black cat.
It was done.
Sorry, Black Cat.
It sounded more like it did in TOS than it does in TNT.
And we have the red railings on the Enterprise in the engineering.
Do we?
I'm pretty sure the railings around the warp core are red.
I thought they were beige for some reason. I don't know why.
I'm pretty sure those ones
Well,
are
that
red.
I don't know. I just know that we got the old style boatswain's
Yeah.
whistle, and it was very
that was
exciting.
cool.
for
Yeah,
me
and they did
personally.
do a good job making it, like, the warp core looked like garbage.
Yeah.
In a good way. Like,
Yeah.
they did a good job. Like, what they should have done is spent a little less money on this episode and spent a little more money on the other one.
Well, we'll get to that.
They spend any money on,
We'll get
on
to-
the other episode?
Let's finish this episode first.
Okay.
Speaking of ship configurations, Worf is trying to build a little model.
Oh
Oh, that was
which
my
is
favorite
adorable.
scene. And he just like dumps it into a drawer when
I
Riker
was
comes
finished.
in.
The one I did love that idea of him doing like little wooden ships, but it's like of all people who I feel like wouldn't flinch at a doorbell, it's Worf. But aside from that, yeah, I thought that was absolutely charming. This little secret hobby of his.
I can see if it's not exactly
He doesn't have the
a
finesse.
it's not a Klingon thing. So I'm sure it's like him doing something crafty like that is like equivalent to somebody walking in on him jerking off in terms
true.
of
Or
of
knitting.
like
No, I didn't see you playing with your dolls again,
yeah,
sir.
exactly.
I gotta
I think
admit,
I made that joke last night, but
You did.
I'm not sorry.
I gotta admit,
I wasn't there.
I'm
It's new to me.
convinced that Star Wars exists as a media franchise in the world of Star Trek now because it looked less like a boat and more like Jabba's sail barge from Return of the Jedi.
Could be.
It's a Klingon boat.
Why wouldn't it be? I mean, we know that they had pop culture.
Yeah, so Worf's a big Star Wars fan.
Speaking of shows worth watching, this one was okay. You know what I really liked was the interplay with the kind of B plot, in that they fit together,
Yeah, they did.
which was nice. Instead of them kind of living in their own bubbles, like they actually made sense in the same episode, and they kind of wove in.
This episode also has one of my favorite Picard-isms, which is the it is possible to make no mistakes and still lose.
Yep.
That was good.
Which I thought was a good one.
It's also true.
It is true, and it's like it's like a life lesson for Data.
Yeah.
Like I like how Troy goes in and she's cheer up, buck up there, and
Boyo.
Pulaski goes in and she's like, oh Data, you're so funny.
Yeah, and she says oh, you're not supposed to have these emotions, even though Data has had so many fucking emotions.
and then they have to go to Picard and it's like, okay, please Picard,
Fix your boy.
just go and be dad. Just go dad him. And Picard goes down there and is like, cut the shit and get on the bridge.
That's what the way I put it was like, the face he makes when they're talking to him in his office about this. He kind of looks like, oh my god, I got rid of the boy, but I still have to deal with this bullshit.
Data's like, but I'm a real boy!
Isn't Picard dad to us all in a way?
No,
Not as much as he is to Wesley.
That's true.
Hey.
As I have long maintained, Captain Dad is Jonathan Archer.
Well, yeah. He
After season 1, when they wanted him to sort of be new Kirk, they realized no, and just made him Captain Your Dad, and he got way better.
Yeah.
He's a puppy.
True.
Which captain?
Some
Enterprise.
Enterprise.
I don't know who that is.
We'll get
Played
there
by
in several
Scott
years.
Bakula from.
Quantum Leap, Quantum Leap. Is that the Quantum Leap song?
Probably.
Might be.
I mean, to be honest, I don't know much about Quantum Leap. What the devil were we actually talking about, though?
Quantum Leap.
Picard telling Data to fucking man up.
Right. That was a good scene.
That was a good scene.
Yeah, Picard getting
Cowboy up. Remember that was the slogan for like the Red Sox?
God, yes, it was
It
terrible.
was terrible.
So here's what I thought was funny. Is Picard's like, yes, pick whoever you want, except Mr. Data. So Riker's like, alright, I'm stealing literally the rest of the senior staff. Oh, I should have thought this through. Now all I have is Security Chief Ginger and a bunch of extras.
Yeah, he really was the redheaded stepchild.
He was bad at his job.
And a robot with ennui.
I mean, what? I mean,
He let Wesley go and kidnap his aluminum foil in the microwave experiment.
Well, and he's like acting like it's a big rush. It's like, it really isn't, Ginger. Calm down.
yeah, they've got 48 hours.
yeah, but who wants to have to spend time with a kid?
Especially
when you're
Wesley.
supposed
He definitely
Motherfucker
did a good
has
job.
a job.
He definitely did a good job, though, acting like he really didn't want to be there. You know?
But again, it felt less like he didn't want to be there and more like, oh, I gotta get back to the bridge or Captain Picard's gonna yell at me. It's like, what are you doing? You should be keeping an eye on this shifty fuck.
Well, Wesley isn't really supposed to be on the ship, so he probably was kind of in a rush, because they were kind of like, what the fuck is he doing here? Oh, some space
Yeah,
experiment.
but the whole point was he was escorting him to keep an eye on him to make sure he wasn't gonna pull chicanery, which guess what he was?
Well, so I think it was all a setup. I think O'Brien, who wasn't seen but was there, I think O'Brien knew what Wesley was up to because he would have had to program the transporter. I don't think they would have let Wesley program the transporter in this circumstance.
Like, I think he said he would give Ginger the coordinates.
He did.
So Ginger did it.
So and Ginger didn't that's the engineering section of the other ship.
Ginger's bad at his job.
Yeah, apparently.
Hopefully he shot out of a torpedo tube when this is over.
I was gonna say he's definitely getting jettisoned to this one.
Yeah.
Well,
Stick him in the Finny pod.
Yeah. For all we know, he's a descendant of Finny.
Maybe. He's as big a fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all Finny did was forget to turn a lever that one time.
Yeah,
this guy did
that's
a
what
way
Finny
bigger
says.
Problem. Well,
It wasn't it's a war game.
And like
It's not like life or
well,
death
here's
situation.
the other thing too, though.
but they're pretending it is, Ames.
Yeah.
Like I do feel
Well, then they should fucking play it in the holodeck. Jesus.
One of the flaws with this whole setup here is that I'll accept that they've pitted these outmatched ships together for the specific reason of dealing with being
what
outmatched.
it's like to totally annihilate a really tiny ship.
But the thing is, if as they said, and I like that they mentioned the Borg because it tells us that
Gives us a reason.
the Borg are not a one and done villain; they'll be back,
Good.
which is
Yeah.
nice.
Good.
But they mention the Borg, and they say, but here's the thing: are you going to be able to beam onto the Borg ship and steal their antimatter in a fight with the Borg? Are you going to be able to trick the Borg sensors?
Well, being fair, the very first time they met the Borg, they just beam onto their ship and
That's
dick around
true.
for a while. Could have stolen one of their babies if they
they
wanted.
could have.
There's like, hello, Borg baby, and Borg baby's like, I got a hat.
But it seems to me that like there were no rules.
Not really.
Like Riker was
Because there
pretty
are
much
no rules in war.
free to do whatever crazy thing he thought of. Like maybe he could have called the Ferengi up and said, "Hey, show up and fuck up the Enterprise." For
Now we've won. See what happens?
What do I get in return, human? Access to our dentists.
Yeah, Riker would have been like, "Listen, show up, fuck up the Enterprise a little bit, and then I'll give you this Stargazer thing when we're done. And we can keep
The
it."
Hathaway?
Why
Yeah.
did they, like, what was the deal with that?
With what?
Why was Starfleet keeping this thing?
I mean, I'm sure
For
just-
war
I'm
games.
sure it was just like when they retire a ship.
They don't just blow it up.
Yeah, they'll probably because there's
It
actually
belongs in a museum.
Let's like take it apart for its pieces or something.
sometimes they do that. But I mean, this one was obviously fairly stripped down. They took all the valuables.
Yeah, but it was weird. It was in a weird state of like, on the one hand, just no one had touched it in a while. On the other hand, looking kind of beaten up. Like what? I was a little confused by the whole Hathaway situation.
Maybe it was in a battle, and it was basically a total loss. They said, "Oh, we can't fix it," so they.
But then Geordi fixes it in under 2 days?
Well, he didn't fix it. I mean, they had 2 seconds of warp.
Guys, after they lost all those ships in the Klingon War back in the day, they kept everything just in case.
Never know when you're
How
gonna.
old did they say the Hathaway?
80 years.
Maybe they were using it as like the 24th century's duck boats. Like it was actually a tourist attraction.
So that doesn't quite compute for me. 80 years, right? Because 80 years would put that in Kirk's time, basically.
Yeah.
Like movie era, I would say.
Yeah, movie Kirk.
Right, because we're in the 2360s.
Yep.
So 80 years back would be the
80s.
2280s.
So actually a little after.
A little after.
Because I think Kirk wraps things up in the 2270s, right?
But they did not
Including
have...
the movies?
Maybe 6 was in the 80s. Anyway, sorry.
But they did not have LCARs in that time.
Well, there'd been a refit at some point, presumably.
Tell us what LCARs are.
The computer system.
Yeah, the
Okay.
TNG displays,
You
basically.
think so?
With
Think they
Magel's
would've-
voice?
Yeah, because I mean, it was 80 years old, but they didn't say how long since it had
Oh,
last
so it might
been
not have
used.
been... Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
Because I'd imagine, like, if you had a modern Excelsior at some point, it would have gotten refit,
That's true.
gotten
That's
LCARs
true.
and all that
Good
stuff.
point. I withdraw my complaint because it's probably fine.
Also, even though the LCARs aren't quite accurate necessarily to the time, the displays on the wall, they did have those by, like, Star Trek's 5 and 6. So that at least hadn't changed. Ship aesthetics, your guys' favorite thing.
And the
Bored
captain's
now.
chair, I don't know if it was, but the captain's chair looked like Picard season 1.
I thought that
Captain's
too,
chair.
yeah. They had just filled in that gap in the back and painted it maroon.
Because it had the flip up
Yeah,
controls. So that was nice.
Other performances that were a peak.
So, yeah, the Stratagema, interesting looking game. I'll say that. Like, the graphics for the game were
Terrible.
nice. No! You didn't like that?
For the late 80s, it was fine.
That was great.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought, yes, for the time and play, yes.
Well,
yes,
you're
yes.
expecting to be Doom or
No, it just looked like a dumb game.
No, it made sense to me.
Did it?
I mean, I was thinking about how it could make sense.
Okay.
Like, I feel like the object of the game is to fill in the entire board
All right.
with your color. And
It sort of looked like Nine Man's Morris.
and I think you have little cursors that you can move around, and like by drawing out certain sections, I think you can turn the inside of that section your color.
Okay.
And then as the game progresses, like most of the time it looked like it was only 4 grids, because I think What's His Fuck was just so good at manipulating it that he managed to turn it his color so fast. But if you notice, when they were playing it at the end, like, it wasn't just 4 sections. There were like tons of
I didn't notice that.
So I think what happens is maybe
the
like
last
you can
scene
like
was really nice.
you can like
So-
cleave sections off of the main ones, and so the longer you go, the more sections there are to try and take
like
over.
a mix of reversey or Go.
Yeah, kind of like Go.
But also, what's the one where you have like a grid of dots and you make like lines and you get X's or O's depending on your...
Tic-tac-toe?
No,
I know what you're talking about.
It
It's
was like a fucking shitty Windows game.
Oh, I kind of remember that.
And,
Yeah,
like,
you can
if
also
you-
draw. It's an easy paper and pencil game too.
Yeah,
You just draw
totally.
it out.
But the idea
I
is
forget
that
the name of it.
you draw lines to connect the dots, and then every time you complete a square, you get your either if you're X or your O, you get X or O in it. But it's not tic tac toe.
Yes. I don't know. I thought it looked like an interesting game. The control mechanism looked bizarre.
It looked like they were milking their fingertips.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really wish you would stop saying that.
That's why he does it.
Probably.
You know who's really been missing?
Guinan.
Guinan. Exactly.
Oh.
Like this, it's been a long time now since we've seen Guinan. I feel like the Borg was the last Guinan.
I think so, yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
No, because wait. Oh yeah, I was gonna say
Q
no.
Who.
She was in Q Who. Asshole. It's the same episode. What a dumbass.
Wasn't that long ago. I mean, this whole season is only 22 episodes.
True.
Yeah.
Because writers strike.
Sure.
And Q Who was one of the last good episodes we saw. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, that's not true.
Well, speaking of good episodes, actually, we'll move on. I think, right? We can move on to the next one.
What was your segue?
My segue is going to be the next episode is epic, right? Because it has
All the good episodes
the
in it.
return of Guinan, the return of Dr. Crusher, the return of Tasha Yar. Who could have seen that coming?
Mm-hmm.
The return of Troy's baby.
Oh, God.
The return of the Jedi.
The Jedi. I was
Yikes.
So here's my one thought on this episode.
Just one.
Because I really just can't be fucked to have thoughts on it.
I have lots of thoughts. Don't worry.
Wow.
Wow. I already told you about this last night.
Oh, I probably wasn't
The
listening.
continuity of the injury.
Oh yeah, I do.
When we first see it, Riker's like, I got jabbed in the leg. And it's like
Bleeding.
sort of a slash or a gash with blood.
Mm.
Then the next time we see it, it's actually a puncture. He's still on the planet, mind. But now it's like, aside from the puncture,
and the blood is gone.
there's no blood. Next time we see it, which again, he hasn't left the planet, it's still a puncture, but now it's got blood again. And then I think
he
later...
picked at it. It's okay.
And then I think later, again, it's like a slash with blood when he's back on the ship. It's like just no continuity for that fucking thing.
I assume Riker was picking at it, so...
I think the frame story. I don't know. Maybe Ames did the research, but my theory on the frame story is that
They had no other better ideas.
One of two things. One of these two things. Either Maurice Hurley wrote it in a drunken stupor the night before they had to shoot, or B, Maurice Hurley wrote an outline, gave it to the actors, and said, just improv all the lines.
I think both of those are probably pretty close.
So what is the true story of how the frame story was written?
Mostly the true story is that Paramount told Star Trek, like, you guys wasted all your fucking money on Q Who and Elementary Dear Data, which had all the fucking necessary budget. No, we're not giving you any more. You're stuck with what you have. In fact, we're also and they said, okay, we'll do a frame story one and film it in 5 days instead of the usual 7 or 8. And they're like, nope, you get 3. 3 days to film, you get 3 sets.
3
Why not?
new sets or 3? Because
I mean, they
only
had
had one
sick
new
bay,
set.
they had transporter room, and then did they have transporter room?
No.
Yes.
Sick bay,
Did they? Oh yeah,
sick bay
because
something,
O'Brien. Yeah.
and the planet.
Which, sadly, for this little throwaway shit episode, that was a way better forest planet than any of the other forest planets we've seen up to this point. It even had some water, which, oh god, they had to walk in those boots of theirs. I can't imagine how gross that felt.
I don't understand. Like, you get 3 sets, but the sets for the bridge and engineer, like, those sets are already there. They're already on.
Yeah, but
they're extant.
But it's necessary to put crews on them.
And light
it's
them.
necessary to light them.
Yeah.
It's not necessary to do find all the camera work with those.
Mm.
Every set is that much more work.
Every sperm is sacred.
You have to build that brain fucker.
Yeah. If the infinite universe theory holds, I'd like to think that somewhere, rather than Shades of Grey, they just did a special episode, which was just Gene Roddenberry in the captain's chair playing spoons for 45 minutes
Eesh.
without saying a word and just staring right into the camera.
Just for Paramount.
Yep.
No, and that's why I almost feel kind of bad for this episode because it was so much of the bigwigs fucking them.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's like, they did what they could.
On the other hand, Jem had no set, and it was or the empath had no set, and it was a way better episode.
Yeah, no, it's true. I feel like, but I don't know. I don't care about the set, the budget, whatever.
They had no like the only non-cast member that they had was Cole Meany, who was basically a cast member by this
No,
point.
there was that black doctor.
What Black Doctor?
He was an extra though. He didn't say anything, did he?
I don't think so. He mostly had to pretend one of Riker's bad jokes was funny, which, takes some acting, I'd say.
I liked his bad jokes.
No, Wesley didn't appear.
No Wesley, no Geordi, I don't believe.
No, Geordi was on the planet at the beginning. He
Oh,
was
that's
with
right.
Riker.
No, somebody else. Who was the other person?
Was Picard
missing?
in this episode?
Yes,
Yeah,
he
Worf.
was. Barely.
Worf
We saw-
wasn't in it.
Worf wasn't in
Yeah.
it. That's what it was.
Yeah, we saw Picard, but only very briefly.
Right, at the end, too.
And yeah, no Worf.
No Guinan.
No Guinan.
Nope.
Well, there was Guinan
True.
in the flashback.
Actually, Worf could have even been one of the flashbacks.
He
I don't
was.
know.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is...
It makes sense, though, not wasting one of Whoopi's very few appearances
Yeah.
on this piece of
Well,
shit.
yeah.
They wouldn't have been able to afford
I
anything.
just feel like I don't care. Like, a bottle episode would have been fine.
This was a bottle episode.
It wasn't though. It was a clip
close.
show.
Yeah. Apparently, one of the people who was working on it wanted to call it Riker's brain.
Brain,
that
what
would
is
have been a
brain?
nice touch.
It was like the working title or something like that for a long time until he came up with this one instead.
I really wish they'd gone with that. That kind of would have
Shades
been
of Grey
amazing.
doesn't even make a ton of sense.
No, it doesn't.
Gray matter in the brain.
I get it, but it's
I
not
didn't make
good.
that connection.
I really didn't like the brain fucker. It really grossed me out.
Yeah, you're not keen on needles.
Well, also, I mean, except the fact that it was so fake looking. Like,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
obviously like radio antennas that were retracting into themselves.
Nope, it was too much. I was like, whoa.
And they just like painted like little red bits
When
on
he
his head.
when he came to at the end, I was like, oh god, did I get drunk and get piercings again?
Got your brain pierced, dude.
But really the problem here, even if you take away the fact that it's a clip show, just the frames, the writing and the characters.
Yeah,
They just-
Troy being there so much.
Yeah, there was a lot of
But
Troy.
it just didn't seem right. Like even if it was just the frame story, it would not have felt like a real Star Trek episode because they didn't.
It started
talk
off
like
kind of
themselves.
interesting, but then I think they got so stuck in trying to figure out like let's figure out what the brain parasite's doing now, and let's watch the same fucking thing on the screen of Riker's brain 15 more times, and finding ways to make the clips make sense. And that's the one thing, like to find a way to make the clips work in a frame story. Yeah, they figured out a way to do it. I really, really hated the way that they decided we're gonna bunch them by what emotion they suggest. Because that's just really fucking lazy.
Yeah. I mean, there's not really that. I don't think we need to bother talking about the flashbacks.
No, God, no.
I mean, it's suffice to say there were flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
There was one that was new, right? That first thing where he's on a planet yelling hello.
No, that was from the episode with the
The
Ferengi.
Ferengi episode.
Last
Oh,
Outpost or
fuck,
whatever.
you're right.
Well, yeah, where they all
I
beamed
didn't
down,
recognize
but
that. That's why he was yelling for Yar.
yeah, they beamed down, but not together. They were supposed to, but they got scattered.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was a pretty planet.
Yeah.
Bad episode, though.
Yeah, bad
Very
episode.
You didn't like the BDSM Ferengi?
No, I love that, but
Oh, well.
And I'd say, probably this episode definitely had the most screen time as percentage of total screen time of all characters for Pulaski.
And this is her last episode.
And this is her last episode. And what a
What
waste.
a fucking waste, yeah.
Like,
she was really... I thought she was good in peak performance. When she was talking with Data.
I thought
True.
she was just starting to come into the character
Yeah.
and like the character is finally becoming something I was interested in, and then we get this, and then she's gone.
Yeah,
It makes me so upset.
apparently, Diana Muldaur just wasn't getting into the sci-fi thing, and I guess made a comment to somebody during Unnatural Selection where they had to keep make-upping her face, that she was like, "Yella, I'm never gonna work on a show that makes me do this much makeup, like do this much prosthetics again," and then she fell down a shaft in LA Law. She was also a dog breeder.
Really?
Yeah, she was a dog breeder and a dog show judge.
Wow.
Pulaski?
Diana Muldaur.
But I mean Pulaski.
Yeah.
Who played Pulaski?
Yes.
Wait, what do you mean she fell down an elevator shaft?
That's how she was.
I want to see this clip. I've never seen this clip.
I don't know if it's still on YouTube, but it was at some point. Well, you know how companies are. Sometimes they're like, no. But, yeah, so she was part of the cast of LA Law.
The regular cast?
Yeah. But then, I don't know if, like, she left on her own, or they just... Either way, they had to write her character out, because she was leaving the show.
They didn't do that for this show.
No.
She's just gone.
It's one of the more infamous...
Was it just, like, really obviously a dummy? Like, really bad or something?
No, it's not even that. It's, like, it's just ridiculous, because, like, an elevator door opens, and there's plainly no elevator there, but she's, like, not really looking as she steps in, and so she just plummets down this elevator shaft to her death.
Oops.
It's one of the more infamous... write-offs in a show because it's just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it seems like a
and
waste.
stupid.
That feels like a NARM moment.
It's almost like what they did with Yar.
It seems like it seems a little spiteful. Like,
Little bit.
But it's memorable,
That's true.
so she still gets to be remembered for it. So.
Yeah, no, it's not exactly a his helicopter spun in over the Sea of Japan moment.
Is she
What's
still
that
alive,
from?
or...
Mash.
I want
Yes.
to watch more MASH.
What's she look... Was she doing anything these days?
I don't know.
know.
Breeding dogs, maybe.
Yeah. So anyway, also this is the last episode with Maurice Hurley as head writer, which
Good
means
riddance.
with both him gone and Pulaski gone, Bev's going to come back.
Yeah.
All the stars aligned to get her to come back.
And also, I feel like isn't Roddenberry's in a back seat at this point too, isn't he?
I assumed he was always in a backseat, but I don't know.
I think maybe after the first season he was.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like there were a lot of things in like the first season where, well, Roddenberry said, and it's like, oh Jesus,
Because
Gene.
because one thing, I think the big.
Can there be more sex on the sex planet, please?
I feel like the show is markedly different in the third season.
When Hurley's gone?
When Hurley's gone, I feel like there's a lot more consistency. I mean, there's obviously still clunkers, but
There's better uniforms. I'm so excited.
there are better uniforms, and there's like a lot of like third season TNG is peak TNG in my opinion. There's a lot of great
It's their
episodes.
peak performance.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the third season of Blackadder's the best season.
Look what a babe she was.
Well, we
Yeah,
saw her.
we saw her in 2 episodes of TOS.
I know, and I
She's
forgot,
hot.
but she's a babe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When we watched this episode, we cheated and just fast-forwarded through the fucking flashbacks.
Wow.
But then you don't get the emotional arc, Chris.
Yeah, I got the
You
point.
don't get to see what Troy is
A
feeling.
lot of constipation face on Troy this week.
Oh, poor Troy. Well, here's a question. They for once took a precaution and didn't immediately beam Riker up, which is nice.
Yeah.
When they do, and they're like, oh, your leg's fucked up and this, that, and the other thing, we have, the nerves, this, whatever else. Why is step 1 not cut off your leg?
I said that also.
Thank you,
I was
Caitlin.
like, just cut his leg off.
If it's gonna reach the brain, cut it off now, like you do on fucking any zombie show.
I literally.
And I'm sure
Do you remember
he
I said
get
that?
a really cool robot leg.
Yeah.
I know, I'm sure they've got great prosthetics in the future. He'd be
anatomically correct. Maybe they could.
Yeah, he could overpower Data now, maybe.
I mean,
No one could overpower Data.
if they
I'd
were
like to watch him try.
limited to just
Yikes,
fighting with
that's
one leg
creepy.
each.
Sorry.
Okay, so the infection,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
It infected the nervous system. It was
Not like a virus and not like a bacteria, but somehow both.
It was in his sciatic nerve, and I liked.
Which sounds painful.
Well, I did like how they kind of made it medically make sense because he was talking about being numb.
Yeah.
Which, if his nerves were fucked up, yeah, that would be a symptom. So I thought that was a nice touch, I guess. I don't know. I'm grasping here.
They did
folks.
some of their research.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When your sciatic nerve falls asleep, your leg falls asleep. That's
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they didn't have Wikipedia back then, so someone actually had to find a book on that shit. I'm just saying, it does give you a little more appreciation.
So, like, the symptoms were consistent, I think. So that was a nice thing. And
Yeah. Oh, he had a sparkly blanket at the end.
I
which
like the blanket.
It was, it was a different color.
It's very Star Trek.
Yeah, back in the day it was the sparkly orange ones. Now the technology advanced. It's sparkly, sort of silvery blue.
And
Good on him.
Data's joke at the end was okay.
Yeah, ending on a weird joke was.
What was it
a
again?
weird way to do it.
Yeah, but also very Star Trek.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and very
it was,
Data.
It was Riker joked that
Very
he was the captain.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then
you can't promote me to
Picard
Admiral.
called Data Admiral, and Data said you can't promote.
Yeah, but it was very Spock. Captain, I don't think you can.
Captain, we just had a... Like, that's the thing. Like, there were episodes of TOS that were way more serious and dark. Like, fucking, I think the Doomsday Machine ended on a laugh line.
Like,
Yeah,
Spock.
there's nothing wrong with
All
having
of these ships have died.
The little bit of comic relief.
Yeah, and in this episode, I feel like, there was never any question if Riker would be okay, so...
Yeah.
I was really concerned.
I mean, it's the end of a season. Do people leave seasons on a big death note?
Doctor, I can't feel my beard.
You could feel my boner if you like, though.
Whoa.
Oh my.
I'm super sad about Pulaski, though.
Yeah.
I really liked Pulaski. I didn't like her at first.
She
She's a
grew
real
on me, yeah.
bitch to Data. But she stopped being such a bitch to Data, started to be more of a bitch to Picard, which I kind of liked. It's kind of nice to have someone who would, not take his shit.
He had that lawyer girlfriend that did the same thing, and we liked her.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll say this.
Well, he was very bonesy in that way.
If Star Trek The Next Generation had gotten canceled after 2 seasons, and we only had these 2 seasons, everyone would unanimously say that Pulaski was the better Doctor.
Well, yeah, because they didn't even bother giving Crusher a personality
Right,
in
because
season
Crusher
1.
didn't do anything.
She was a non-entity.
She was
And I feel like
Wesley's mommy.
Yeah.
If we're being... And we'll have to evaluate this as we go, but I don't know. I mean, I guess this will be a question. I mean, does Crusher become redeemed? I mean, obviously there's a lot more Crusher to come that we'll learn about and be able to see, but I don't know if they ever make her a great character, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I don't know enough about future Bev episodes, so
I mean,
I look forward to
Bev.
seeing her
the
again.
stupid ghost grandpa thing.
Yeah,
whatever.
that one.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
That one's infamous.
One of the worst episodes. But yeah, I don't know. I do think I am going to miss Pulaski, I think. And unlike... She does get referenced. I can think of at least one future episode where they reference Pulaski.
The Pulaski maneuver.
Basically.
So you make out with Worf.
No, there's an episode where they're like, oh... It's really only to cover a plot hole, which I think is good, because there's a plot in a future episode where they need to do something that Pulaski did, but they can't because of the plot it would ruin the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to be like, oh, the Pulaski method won't work on this alien species, but it works on every other alien species, just not this one.
This species is like reverse Vulcans. Their power makes it harder to treat them.
So I thought that's at least one future Pulaski reference that is coming up in the next few episodes, I think.
Oh, and then they just drop her entirely.
And then we don't really hear much about her.
Absolutely.
Aw. So anyway, we saw a moment of Bev in this episode. We saw moments of lots of people. I don't know much about how Hollywood payrolls and shit work, but if they're trying to save money, do they still have to pay all those people to be in clips in this episode, or no?
I don't know.
No, I don't.
You don't think
I
so?
think
It's only in
I think
syndication, or
there's
what?
Probably, unless it's in their deal, unless they had a deal for it's file
future
footage.
episodes?
I don't know.
But don't people get residuals when the episodes are played again?
It could be that whatever the residual deal is still cheaper than...
For that episode specifically, or what?
Well, it might just be, it's cheap enough to just use the clip.
Yeah.
That it's still cheaper than hiring a bunch of new extras.
It's probably like a flat
Or the
rate,
same actors
if
again.
anything.
I don't know enough about it, but I started realizing, wow, there are actually... Even though there are relatively few characters in the episode... In new footage of this episode, there are a lot of fucking characters in this episode.
Yeah, I don't know how it works, to be honest.
Armis.
Yeah.
And they showed the clip of Geordi dropping his phaser.
Oh, I missed it!
In
Fuck!
the goo again, and I was like, God damn it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think is there much else to say about this one.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it was a rinky-dinky little framing device. It was stupid. Troy was obviously hurting
so much
herself
Troy.
with her great acting, and Pulaski was wasted.
And
Yep.
she pushed not a button at one point.
Oh yeah.
She
kept missing the buttons. Yeah.
Well,
That
and
was
at one
funny.
point, literally just pushed the Starfleet insignia. It's like that doesn't do anything.
That's
It
great.
might. Maybe that's the most
I mean,
important button.
everybody was phoning it in on this one.
Oh yeah, no,
The
it was
writers,
yeah.
the actors,
the editors.
the props builders.
Us.
Yeah,
we
we're all-
fast forwarded
I
through
don't know.
the
I think
clips.
Cole
so.
Meany gave it his all. I'm going to give Cole Meany A+ for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, to make up for the fucking dope face he was making during double time, whatever the fuck,
Time
that
squared.
piece of shit.
Okay.
Speaking of piece of shit episodes,
And peak
are we
performances.
segueing?
Oh, yeah.
We're going to
Yes.
top and bottom
Let's
this
do
shit.
it.
It's the end of season 2!
Good riddance to these terrible uniforms, except for some flashbacks in the future.
And I think we might, I think some of the extras,
Yeah,
background
they'll probably
actors
have yeah.
old
But as far
uniforms
as
for a while.
the main cast go,
Yeah, everyone gets wool. We're out of spandex
Yeah.
into the wool.
yeah.
Okay, it
thank
is
God.
wool. I thought it looked like it was probably wool.
The new uniforms are wool.
Yeah, that's what I meant. We watched 8 seconds of
Yeah, I wanted to point out the differences.
Evolution.
it's-
Evolution's the next episode,
Which,
right?
I
Yeah.
wonder, because part of the problem with the spandex was that it was they got so sweaty.
Yeah.
And stanky.
But I wonder how the wool was under stage lights.
Hot. Probably
Yeah.
really hot.
But you know what?
Well,
At
it's
least
on date,
it
it's
wasn't.
always hot.
That's true.
At least it wasn't clinging to their every fucking inch.
This is true. Oh, we did get to see Sex Planet bulges
Oh,
again.
That was my favorite part. I made Chris play that in slow-mo.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So like we did with season 1, we're gonna do a top and bottom 3.
I have 4 of one. I might choose on the fly. We'll see.
Okay.
Caitlin still has 8.
I have 3 in an honorable mention for top 3 and 5 for bottom 3.
Pick
I think you gotta pick
We're doing
3.
3.
I'm trying.
You can still mention your honorable mentions, but they won't make the list.
We'll start with bottom,
Oh, that's the harder one. No, can we start with tops?
but I like to go out on a positive
No,
note.
we're not. But this season, there is no positive note.
That's not
Okay.
true. There were a few positive.
Jake,
notes.
do you want to go first?
No, I'll defer
To whom?
to anybody else.
I'm ready, so
All
okay,
right.
why don't you do it?
Which one are you doing? Bottom or top?
I'll go with best first.
Yeah, good, because that's what I have ready.
So my top 3 in order from good to best, I guess.
3 to 1.
Yes. Number 3, Q Who.
Nice. Love me some Q. And
Number
some Borg.
Number 2, The Emissary,
Mm.
and number 1, Peak Performance.
Peak performance was pretty solid.
Yeah,
Really?
I really liked
Oh.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. That one was kind of my backup for a little while, but
I thought it was overall a very well constructed and executed episode.
yeah. And like I said, the two converging plots
Yeah.
go very well together.
They actually, function as a unit.
I'll go next. Also from 3 to 1. Number 3, The Emissary again.
Mm.
Love watching some Worf get into his action.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty fucking hot.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Q Who.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I said, Q's in it.
Mm-hmm.
And number 1, maybe too obvious, but it's so good, The Measure of a Man.
Which one was that again?
That's, is Data sentient?
Is Data a real boy?
Oh, really?
And also Picard gets his hate fuck on.
Oh yeah, the hate fuck. Jake.
I guess this is probably in order. I wasn't thinking of order when I did it, but it looks ordery enough. So from least best to best. The Emissary,
Yay!
Peak Performance,
Mm-hmm.
Good.
and The Measure of a Man.
A lot of overlap so far.
Yeah.
Caitlin's gonna say none of the above.
Yeah, I was gonna say Caitlin is just here to fuck everything up. I hope I have the right one. Okay, so
do you want me to check and tell me which
least
one it
best
is?
to
or-
most best. No, I think I got it.
All right.
So least best was Loud as a Whisper.
Oh, you loved that one.
I really did.
That was.
Oh, that was a
Reva.
good one.
Reva,
Yeah.
Reva.
the deaf mediator.
Yeah, I was.
I considered that one.
The chemistry.
I did too,
The chemistry
yeah.
was banging. I loved it.
I thought about it, but not quite.
2 was Q Who,
Yay.
and 1 I did A Matter of Honor.
Ooh. A lot
And-
of good Klingon stuff happening.
And my honorable mention was The Emissary, because The Emissary was initially my number 3.
But you didn't want 2 Klingon ones in the list?
No, it wasn't even that. It was just kind of like, I feel like Loud as a Whisper and The Emissary were great episodes to me for the same reason, which was like lots of weird, sexy chemistry, and I didn't want to be that shallow. I
No
guess.
such thing.
Yeah. Should I start bottom 3?
Sure.
Sure.
Go back round.
Okay, do you have it to 3 now?
I have it to... Yes. Yes. In no particular order, though, I apologize. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Can I be forgiven?
Absolutely.
So, in no particular order, the outrageous Okona. Times Squared.
Ooh, dumb Picard.
So dumb.
And Where Silence Has Lease.
Oh.
That was Nagilum, right?
Nagilum,
Yeah.
the space face.
I hated the space face.
Space face.
Stupid as fuck face.
Oh, wow, you might
With
have most-
honorable mention to Manhunt and
Yeah.
No, you don't get honorable
the Icarus
mention.
factor. Dishonorable mention then.
So, okay, we're going reverse order now.
Yep.
All right, so I'm not gonna have any overlap, interestingly.
With Caitlin? Wow.
So I have the Royale.
Mhm.
Oh, which was
That was
awful.
terrible.
So much cheese.
Up the long ladder,
Yeah.
laddie.
Yep, that was awful.
It was bad, but not as bad.
It was offensive.
I'm not
I
Irish,
was
so I don't give a
offended.
fuck.
I don't know if it was as offended as me doing the voice, but it was offensive. And Manhunt.
Mm-hmm.
Manhunt is fucking awful.
So bad.
Very
So
bad.
dumb. Am I going?
Yep.
Alright, so I still have a tie for 3. I'm just going
Uh-oh.
to pick one at random. Actually, here we go. Someone else pick one at random because I can't pick. Alright, is that the one we picked?
I guess so.
Alright, this is the one. The Icarus Factor.
That's a shitty episode.
So bad.
So
yeah.
bad, so bad. That's
One of
number
my
3.
contenders for sure.
Yep. Upset. And it's really 2 plots that don't fucking work together, and then a third plot that's just kind of there. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And also American Gladiators for some
Yep.
reason.
Yeah, everything was bad.
Yep.
The Royale,
Mhm.
Oh, awful.
and number 1, the outrageous Okana.
Mm.
Again, too many fucking plots that they're all terrible. My other option had been Up the Long Ladder, by the way.
So, I think with actually the exception of Where Silence Has Lease, which I just thought was meh, I'm pretty sure everything we have discussed here, and that everyone is something, like
They
everyone...
were in your shit pile?
They were in my shit pile, yeah. Like...
How big was your shit pile? Mine was 7.
Mine was about 7.
7 or
so.
8, yeah,
Mhm.
something like that. So, my worst, number 3, and this is from worst to worst.
Mm.
The outrageous Okana,
Ooh,
whatever.
3. Interesting.
Number 2, Up the Long Ladder. And
Tidy.
number 1, Manhunt.
Manhunt. Yeah.
Nice.
Manhunt was just awful. The
So-
Royale was
Really
awful. It was all
Yeah,
bad.
so there's
Yeah, Royale
there's
was
actually-
shit.
There was more over, except for me and Caitlin. There was a fair amount of overlap.
But again, except for Silence Has
Yeah.
Lease, everything you listed, I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah,
that
I
was-
mean, I don't
that was hot
disagree.
garbage. Yeah.
I didn't disagree
Well, it was just
with
hard.
anybody on their tops or their bottoms.
That's the thing, because when it was good, it was good, and when it was bad, it was bad.
So,
Really
like,
bad.
It was
It-
hard for me to choose 3 in either category.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, because there were like 6 or 7 really good ones, 6 or 7 really bad ones, and the other 8-ish were just kind of like, eh.
So I had said on my...
To not worth being in my shit pile.
Yeah. So I had said on my own Facebook earlier today, and it caused a bit of controversy.
Oh yeah, all your friends are wrong. Every single one of them. Sorry,
Wow.
Chris's friends. They're wrong.
I don't remember what the...
What was the debate?
I said that I'm pretty sure that Season 2 might actually be worse than Season 1. My reasoning being, in my opinion, like Season 2 had some really, really good episodes. But it also had some incredibly abysmal ones.
Mm.
Whereas the first season had a smattering of okay ones and a bunch of meh ones. And
There were some pretty bad ones.
There were,
though,
but what I
'cause there
feel like-
was like the Skin of Evil or...
Yeah, but
Foreskin
is the Skin of
of
Evil
Evil
as
or-
bad as fucking Okana
Oh, see, I
or
didn't-
Royale?
And like fucking Black Planet.
yeah, no, that one's atrocious. But what I mean is, I think overall,
The Ferengi that first
the
time.
sheer badness of the bad ones in this causes the average to kind of just dip maybe a little below.
Mm. I'd
I'd
be curious if we found what the average per seasons were on IMDb
sure.
or Amazon.
Let's
or
see.
I
something.
don't know,
can
but
find
I would
out.
say, like, here's the thing. I think Season 1, the high points are not very high.
No, that's
But
true.
The high points here
In
Oh, they're
season
very...
two.
way
They got
are
some
better
really nice
yeah.
high points.
than Season
Honestly,
1.
it probably winds up actually being almost exactly even. It's just you don't feel that way
Possibly.
because of...
Well, I think one thing someone said
I'm
late...
surprised none of us said the child. That's interesting.
Man, it's like, it was
It was-
so
it was
bad,
in
but it was
consideration.
not... Yeah, me too, but again, it was like, there was a list of
Yeah.
8, and the child at some point, I was just like, this isn't even...
part of it,
Top 5 at this point.
I'll admit this was sort of a late comment, so you may not have seen it, Ames, is that the way this person put it was that it was like, people misrepresent how quickly the show gets better. And I definitely, when I'm thinking back on it, like, oh yeah, season 1's the worst, season 2 it starts to get better, and season 3 is where it really takes off. I feel like the level of improvement from season 1 to 2 wasn't what I was expecting, so that may have colored my impressions.
The improvement was in very small spotlights.
Yeah.
And then everything else was just like, this is either season 1 again or worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say. I agree.
Yeah, no, like, I think overall, like, my main memory of season 1 at this point is Justice was particularly bad.
Oh yeah, Justice was bad.
Not A Matter of Honor, that was this season. Something.
Code of Honor.
Code of Honor was particularly bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's mostly a sea of or it was decent.
Well, it's funny. So, like, I'm looking at season 1. Like, on IMDb, the best score in season 1 out of 10 was 8.1.
Was it for Farpoint?
For Conspiracy.
For Conspiracy.
We talked about this last
we did
season.
when we wrapped
were all
season
shocked.
one.
Disgrace.
And the highest in 2 was 9.1 for The Measure of a Man. But there are way more 5s and 6s in season 1 than there are in season 2, where season 2 has, like, a lot of 7s, 8s.
Yeah, but as we established when discussing season 1, and if you just look at the IMDb in general, the IMDb doesn't know what it's talking about.
Somebody want to lend me a calculator
yeah,
so I can run some numbers real quick?
I haven't
You
checked.
have a calculator.
I can't look at the list of scores and calculate at the same time.
I don't think we need calculation.
But I will say that, and I haven't checked this in a while, so it's maybe changed. But I know that for a period there, Shrek, which don't worry, the first Shrek is actually quite good. It's
No,
easy.
it's not.
It's easy to forget because the sequels were bad. I enjoyed the first Shrek, but I potentially have bad taste.
You're wrong. Yeah, you do.
How does that donkey fuck that dragon?
Well, how
Very
is-
Very
carefully.
carefully.
How is that a fucking children's movie?
Well,
It's so fucking gross. The fucking king's name was Fuckwad. Like, what the
He
fuck?
wasn't a king. He was a
Oh,
lord.
whatever.
anyway,
Whatever.
point is, Shrek, which I enjoy, was rated as a better film than Mary Poppins, the greatest family movie ever made, which is just wrong. And again, I say this as someone that doesn't dislike Shrek.
Really?
Oh, also, I don't know about you guys, but for me at least, I kind of disqualified Shades of Grey from consideration.
I just didn't hate Shades of Grey as much as any of
It's
these
just
other
like, I don't
ones.
know. I don't want people to think that because it wasn't mentioned in the bottom 3 that we liked it.
Well, it was
yeah,
reading
no,
that.
Well, I still don't think it was one of the worst 3.
No.
Yeah,
but like it just didn't. It was like you were saying earlier when
It
we
was
were talking. It was just kind of half of an episode. It wasn't like a whole
was
episode.
nothing.
It was.
It did not register for me. What the hell is Star Trek Expeditions? Did I buy that?
Hang on. Let's finish this episode first, Jake.
Jake
No.
has merchandise he didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And also
Anyway,
ADHD.
Hey.
Possibly.
I read in a bunch of different reviewers of Star Trek that a bunch of them had listed Shades of Grey as in their bottom 5 episodes of TNG or in their bottom 5s of all of Star Trek.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah,
What
but
a
I
waste.
think that there's the reason people do that is because they're like, well, it was so low effort.
Yeah,
right?
but still, I
Well,
mean,
it-
that's just lazy.
And it's
It's
yeah,
lazy,
exactly, that's
but,
why I say it's
Naked
lazy.
Now is lazy.
It's
Well, no, he meant the rating was lazy.
I just
not
feel
the
like
writing.
it's
Also the
impossible.
writing.
Also the writing.
It's really it's impossible to objectively evaluate Shades of Grey because it's an apples to orange comparison.
Exactly,
It's
yeah.
not you're not comparing equal things.
Yeah. Oh, and I should clarify, certainly. While this was a bad season, at the end of the day, the absolute bottom of Star Trek is still the whole of TAS.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
bam. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Bam, like, there was nothing
Oh my
in
God.
this season as bad as the worst that TAS had to
I had
offer.
forgotten them. How dare
You're
you?
lucky. You're so lucky.
How?
Here, I'll strike you in the head a few times until it's gone.
Please.
TAS garbage.
Ugh.
So,
So,
all right. Well, I think that about does it for season 2 of
So long, season 2.
Star Trek: The Next Generation.
good riddance, second worst
Smell
uniforms
you
in
later.
franchise history.
Goodbye, Pulaski.
Oh.
I haven't
We
said.
will miss Pulaski. We should do like a montage with like In the arms of the angel.
She's not dead.
Well, yeah, but the character's never to be seen
Well,
again.
you're the one that knows video editing, so you can do
No,
that.
I won't do
The
that.
arms of the angel.
I don't want to wait for our lives to be over.
Don't you
Forget about me. I'll be alone, dancing, you know it, baby.
Dancing with myself. Wait a minute. That's
Dancing with
Oh, God. Oh,
myself.
God.
Oh, when I
I have the world to dance, and I'll be dancing with myself.
That's about Jerkins.
Whoa, yeah,
This
it's about
homage turned into
Oh.
something different.
turning Japanese. I think I'm turning Japanese. I really think so.
So,
Any other
Jake,
songs about
what are our next
masturbating?
episodes?
Season 3.
About you, I touch myself.
What's on those cards?
Semen now.
Well, let's see. We have
Wow,
two
you're
new
having so much trouble reading.
next week on a Star Trek to Steer Her By Star Trek podcast.
SoundCloud.
We will be doing 2 new episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. Season 3's Episode 1, Evolution. Evolution.
Holy shit! Do you know there's gonna be a Shrek 5?
Of course there is.
And we'll also be talking about Episode 2, Season 3, The Ensigns of Command.
Uh-oh.
The
It's a
Ensigns.
terrible title.
It is a terrible
Does
title.
Wesley end up in charge of the ship for some reason? Oh, thank God.
It's actually pretty good. Data learns
Something about humanity?
No.
He learns about how to.
Spoilers.
I'm not gonna spoil it.
Okay, go
He
ahead.
learns a lesson. Okay.
Okay.
He learns how to deal with shit.
Good for him.
With his dick.
Actual shit?
No. Water, sewage systems.
Oh.
Of course, if you'd like to hear us talk about those episodes and any further episodes, you should subscribe to our podcast on. Hold on, Caitlin has a
How
thing.
many
I
more
have to
seasons of
interject.
We have an interjection.
I apologize, but there is an episode this season called Menage a Troy.
It's
Oh, no, that's not a Loxana one, is it?
oh, of course it is.
Oh, I hate that woman.
And also one called Sarek.
Guess who's in that one?
Spoilers.
Scotty.
You betcha.
Deja Q. That's
Try
pretty
with this.
good.
So where are we on social media, Jake?
We are on Facebook. Search for Star to Steer Her By podcast on Facebook. You can also find us on Twitter and Tumblr, SSHB podcast, both places. But you can also find our music podcast. Not music, it's about Star Trek.
Podcast.
It's a talking podcast with occasional singing. And you can find that on soundcloud.com. Did I do it?
You did.
That's awesome.
Did.
Star Trek, Star to Steer Her By, iTunes, Google, look it up, subscribe, do the thing. My name's Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
And this is always Caitlin.
Thank you for listening.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you, Jake.
Woo!
One day you'll remember to say a thing that's normal.
Don't
I said SoundCloud right.
forget about
I said Fuck!
Nope, it's gone now. It's gone. It's gone forever.
So what is this?
What thing are you looking at?
There's some board game.
Oh, Lindsay gave us that.
There's all kinds of crazy degrees out
I'm
there.
a sexual zoologist.
My sister has a degree in paleoethnobotany,
Oh.
which means
Ancient flowers.
not exactly. I mean, yes, but part of it for her, the ethno part, was trying to determine ancient people's diets and therefore possibly the flora of the area based on what we find in their fossilized poop.
Oh.
It's a great
Well,
specialty.
that sounds fascinating.
What about if they just take the flowers and press them and make them into little pictures?
I think that would just be a paleobotanist, not a paleoethnobotanist. But you'd have to ask her. She's the paleoethnobotanist.
Yeah, but they're still.
It's also just fun to say.
So she knows a lot about poop, is what you're saying.
Yes, but only
I got something to
fossilized.
show her then.
But mostly ancient poop.
Yes, fossilized
So if
poop.
you have any questions about your consistency, color, size, any of that stuff, she can't
Number
help
of
you.
kernels of
I've been
corn.
all over the map
no.
lately.
What you
Do
gotta
you
do...
count them?
What you gotta
Do
do
you actually like?
is...
Like, you want to talk about shades of gray.
Oh, and it all comes around.
Oh God, I love it.